Hello and welcome to GUTV. My name is Bailey Fiechtner and I'm the executive producer of our show today. In a world where media consumption and production is at an all-time high, it can be difficult to interpret the messages coming your way. My team and I have compiled a guide to media literacy, and we hope you have just as much fun watching it as we had making it. Here's media. It's lit.
You are fake news.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
Peloton, give it up for our first time rider.
The comedy I do is not one-sided.
The Impossible Whopper. Only at...
Are you kidding me right now? What do you guys think you're doing? Come on now, we could do better than this. Are you even thinking about the messages you're receiving? Well then, I guess it's time to get media lit. Hello and welcome to Media It's Lit. I'm your host, Ryan Meza, and today's show is going to be a little different compared to our typical GUTV productions. Today we'll be focusing on the topic of media literacy. And I know what you must be thinking, what is media literacy? Media literacy is having the ability to identify different types of media critically and understand the messages they are sending. Whether it is social media, memes, advertisements, all media share one thing. Someone created it. Similar to the show you're watching right now. We do a good job with making it look pretty and perfect, but if you look at it from this angle, you see a lot more people and extra objects in the background. Especially in this day and age, it is so easy for anyone to create media. We don't always know who created something, why they made it, or even if it's credible. Our first story is about a recent tragedy that saddened millions of people across the world with the death of NBA legend Kobe Bryant, along with his 13-year-old daughter Gianna and 7 other passengers in a helicopter crash. Mitchell Larson will touch on the topic of how this story was publicly released and how to think critically when receiving breaking news.
A news story just broke out. Let's use the first report on it. Recently, we've seen the result of TMZ's early reporting when they broke out the story of famed basketball star Kobe Bryant's death earlier this year on January 27th. With this breaking news came some inaccurate facts, most notably how many people were on board when the helicopter crashed. TMZ initially reported that there were 5 people on board, and some of whom were not identified. This later turned out to be untrue, as there are 9 people on board when the helicopter did crash. TMZ has a history of reporting on stories before all the facts have been checked. This is largely due to the economic imperative of reporting on stories before any other publication can, so that they can maximize readership. This unfortunately comes at the cost of quality fact-checking. This is the reason why you should always be cautious whenever a news story breaks out. You never know what steps are being skipped when bringing you the facts. Consider these tips whenever a news story breaks out. First, consider the sources. Who's reporting on the story? Consider both the publisher and the author. Are they credible? If the article you're reading doesn't even have an author listed, then consider another publication, because that one probably isn't credible. Try looking at other sources as well. If a publication is reporting on a detail that other sources are not picking up on or are not reporting on, then you should be skeptical about that bit of information because it likely hasn't been verified. In the case of the Kobe Bryant story, this would have been the number of people on board of the helicopter, and who specifically was on board. This happened in the Kobe Bryant case when it was reported that former basketball player Rick Fox was also on board the helicopter when it crashed. This was likely reported by online trolls, and it later turned out to be completely false. Overall, exercise caution whenever the next story breaks out. You never know if the information you're getting is actually misleading.
We all know the name, and we all will remember the name Kobe. I know when I first saw the TMZ article, I didn't believe the news, nor did I want to. But I checked ESPN and Bleacher Report to see if this was true, and that confirmation left me heartbroken. With the death of an icon who brought so much joy to life into a game that I cherish so much. Not only were the facts inaccurate and different in several articles, but a husband, a wife, a child, a sister, and a father and a mother were in that helicopter, and their loved ones had to first hear the news from an article that didn't contain all the needed information, which goes to show how important it is to understand where you're getting your information. Next, we are going to consider gender issues in the media. Women in the media are often criticized and do not receive the respect they deserve. We have GUTV's Jordan Tolbert to discuss the representation of women in the newsroom.
It's no secret that gender inequality still exists today, and the ugly truth of sexism is apparent in several aspects of media. Today, I will be exploring gender inequality in the newsroom and how it affects women in their careers, everyday life, and self-esteem. Empowering women in the workplace and involving them in decisions in front of and behind the camera is essential to creating a more well-rounded newsroom with a variety of thought. There are many factors that inhibit the advancement of women in the newsroom, beginning with gender inequality in the media industry as a whole. According to the 2017 Divided Media Gender Gap Report by the Women's Media Center, men receive 62% of byline and credits in print, internet, TV, and wire news, while women receive 38%. The good news, though, is that more and more females are assuming leadership positions in newsroom all across America.
I got a great call, this was not long ago, and I get viewer calls and complaints, whatever, that's part of the job. And I had a guy call, and someone had transferred him to me from the front desk, and he said, I'm looking for the news director. And I said, this is the news director. And he said, oh, I'm surprised. And I was just like, really? And by the end of the conversation, he was not happy that I was a woman and I was telling him my opinions on things. So I said, well, I'm happy to transfer you to our general manager, Teddy. And he said, I'd like to talk to him. And I said, Teddy's a woman. So luckily I work in a place where I work for a woman. The owner of our company is a woman. And it's just the kind of company that doesn't really, it lifts women up, I think, just inherently, but it's a supportive place to work. I take it with a grain of salt. I take it more personally when somebody attacks my integrity or my journalism than attacks something based on gender, because I know better. But I do think that is a very real concern in our industry, is, you know, women coming up in this business are going to face a different criticism than men. Most of it is gender-based, most of it is appearance-based, and that's burning young women out in our industry or keeping them from going into it. Being a woman in news is the same as being a woman in the U.S. Senate. It's being a woman in any kind of position of power. Whether you're the news director or a reporter, people look at you, people are going to judge what you do, and people are going to judge you a little bit differently because you're a woman. I think the biggest thing is to understand that your place at the table is just as important as anybody else's. You can't apologize for wanting to work hard and wanting to have drive, and you have to have that in this business. You have to be like up in people's business to get jobs, to keep jobs, to get interviews, and you shouldn't apologize for that. It doesn't make you less of a woman to be an aggressive journalist.
And though history may not be perfect, and even when progress is slower than we'd hope, gender equality is on the rise.
Women in the media are a force to be reckoned with, and we have some powerhouse women of our own here at GUTV. Gender in the media plays such a big role and ties in very well with media literacy. For example, women could have more experience than a man in a certain skill, but the woman will be seen as inconsistent or inexperienced on a particular topic. We see that a lot with women in sports media, which is a stereotype that needs to go, and we here at GUTV demand gender equality within media. Another aspect of media literacy is understanding the message and advertisements are giving to the viewers. I am guilty of getting sucked into watching hours of YouTube videos almost every day. But what many people don't see is the content or ads people are putting in their YouTube videos as an endorsement.
Note, today's video is sponsored by Audible. Audible stands for
Honey is a free
Uncle
internet
Don.
shopping
It'll
tool
be
that
a
automatically
lovely
searches all
evening
the
for
best
an
promo
Audible.
codes when
Audible has
shopping
been awesome enough to sponsor these videos for
Honey's
years.
great because
and
they
my
do all the
Bill's
hard
here
work
is
for
online
you.
learning
Giant
free nights
shopping
ago.
for the
Vacation
weekend.
time. Audible has the world's largest.
YouTube allows creators the ability to get other companies to sponsor their videos. This is another form of generating revenue on YouTube. Either party can approach the other with an appeal for working together. Many sponsors provide the YouTuber with a specific link or referral code to advertise their product with. These are used to measure how much traffic that YouTuber actually generates for their product. Sponsorships on YouTube are specifically defined, usually with the phrase, "This video is sponsored by." Some videos even have a little tag that pops up in the bottom right corner of the video, telling viewers that the video contains sponsored material.
What's up, YouTube? Today we're doing the turtleneck sweater challenge. It's where you wear a turtleneck sweater in summer in awareness of climate change. All right, I'm gonna go.
How YouTubers advertise through their videos. It is like product placement in movies where they are paid to talk about and promote a certain product. Different brands have different requirements. There are different ways branded videos can be produced. It is up to the creator on how they present it, but it can come up in videos such as hauls, lookbooks, tutorials, skits, gameplays, and unboxing. Now, how does this affect you? It is important to be honest with your fans. For example, a famous YouTuber by the name of Casey Neistat stated,
"The fans' appetite for is short and no one likes feeling duped. If the content is good, ad or not, it is usually appreciated. But transparency is very important when communicating with an audience that signed up for you, the person, not the ads."
Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, requires the content creator to disclose it using the same format. That means when a video is sponsored, it must be disclosed in the video itself. If Oreo sponsors a video where somebody eats every single flavored Oreo, but the only indicator saying that the creator is being paid to make it is at the bottom of the description in the text, that's against FTC guidelines. In 2016, the FTC raised the maximum fine from $16,000 to $40,000 per violation. And despite what you may see on YouTube nowadays, people don't always tell you when a video is sponsored. Let's look at a recent example of this happening to one of YouTube's biggest moneymakers. Ryan Toys Review is one of the largest channels on YouTube, with over 21 million subscribers and a combined total of over 30 billion views. In 2018 alone, this little kid brought in $22 million. In August of 2019, a watchdog group filed a complaint to the FTC about the channel, saying that Ryan, or let's be real, Ryan's parents, didn't always disclose if they were paid to review a toy or mention a company. They've been sponsored by several companies, Chuck E. Cheese and Hardee's being two of the biggest. And with a target audience of 5 years old and under, it can be assumed that the audience could not discern the difference between sponsored and non-sponsored content. We are constantly interacting with media in today's age and are exposed to over 5,000 advertisements a day. But when we interact with websites like YouTube, ads can sometimes be harder to spot. By knowing when you're advertised to, you become more media literate in determining the actual motives of the advertisers. We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Advertisements and sponsorships are everywhere we go, but they are very common on YouTube because all famous YouTubers are making millions of dollars for mentioning a company or using a certain product in their videos. Sounds fun, but are those YouTubers really in it for the content they're producing or just for the money? Like I said earlier, anyone can create media, and sometimes that can backfire on you. We have Sydney Gonzalez in the Apila Suite to tackle the issues of cancel culture in the media. Sydney?
Thanks, Ryan. If you have a social media account, you've probably heard of cancel culture. Cancel culture is the practice of no longer supporting people, especially celebrities, of products that are regarded as unacceptable or problematic. One celebrity that's undergone this conversation is R. Kelly. Last year, the documentary series Surviving R. Kelly was released, exposing the singer for sexually assaulting multiple women. The documentary resulted in an increase in the singer's music streams, which caused a big debate between people who are pro and anti-cancel culture. If you were pro-cancel culture, they wanted people they wanted R. Kelly's music to be removed permanently from all social media streaming platforms, whereas anti-cancel culture wanted people to listen to his music and have the choice, and they wanted to remain on streaming platforms. Another person undergoing cancel culture was James Gunn. The director is known for the Guardians of the Galaxy series, but in 2018, an old series of tweets released, and they regarded as a series of old tweets came to the surface, and they were regarded as unacceptable by Disney, causing Disney to fire him. However, his firing or cancellation caused people to question of whether these tweets could be forgiven and whether the things that people say can be forgiven. James Gunn released an apology saying that he knew what he said was wrong. And after this, Disney ended up deciding to rehire him, and people ultimately forgave James Gunn. If these examples taught us anything, it's that we need to be more media literate. One way to do that is to get rid of cancel culture altogether. We can do that by being aware of our social footprint. We can do this by being conscious of what we post. What we say online can last forever. Second, we shouldn't let the media make decisions for us. We have the right to make our own decisions about opinions of people and ideals, so we need to do our own research. And three, we ultimately need to be kind to others. The big issue with cancel culture is that it can be an extremely toxic platform. We can do this by just not adhering to negativity and not for likes and retweets. We need to keep the internet a positive space. After the break, we'll be back with Ryan Meza. This is GUTV's Media, It's Lit.
I'm fine. You know, this year's going a lot better. I'm making friends. I'm not as homesick. I've started talking about it. I don't take those meds anymore. And those thoughts, they don't scare me as much. But am I okay? I mean, I think I'm okay. I don't really know what to tell people. No one's really asked me that in a while.
Welcome back to Media It's Lit. I'm Ryan Meza, and our next story for you is about queer representation in the media. Queer representation is often overlooked and used as a token for many productions in order to get everyone at the table. However, that producer may not be well informed on the topic, or maybe there might not be any queer representation behind the scenes. GUTV's Harry Smith is here with solutions to queer representation in the media and tips on how to look beyond the stereotypes when it comes to television.
Hi, I'm Harry Smith, and today I'm going to be giving you a crash course on how to create good queer characters on television. Whereas film scholars are more concerned with the quantity of characters, TV scholars are more concerned with the quality of characters, because they appear to be more visible, or so it seems. A highly criticized example of this is the TV show Will and Grace. Will and Grace features two gay men, Will, who lives with his straight best friend, and Jack, who fits the flaming gay stereotype.
Prepping for the gay bee, my brain is buzzing with knowledge.
The show also positions Will and Grace in situations that are common for married couples, effectively heterosexualizing their relationship.
It's not us. Plus, what's the big deal anyway?
A better, more recent example is the Netflix original Sex Education. This show features three distinct queer characters. Anwar, who is confident in his sexuality and is a bully to others at school.
What happened to John Brennan?
I think he's going for that prison chic.
Adam, who is stereotypically masculine and afraid to confront his sexuality.
I've had to work really hard to love myself, and I won't go back to hiding things about me again.
I'm scared.
And Eric, who is flamboyant and learns to embrace his identity and is embraced by his family in return.
Maybe I am learning from my brave son.
So how do you create better characters? Here are my 3 takeaways. 1. Hire writers with lived queer experience. Input from people with this experience can only improve your characters. 2. Be cautious with stereotypes. The thing about stereotypes is that to some extent they're based in reality. If Anwar or Adam's characters were isolated, they might be problematic. But holistically, the diversity shown through these 3 queer characters shows the difference in people's lived experiences. 3. When in doubt, leave it out. If you're going to write a queer character for representation's sake with no intention of displaying their relationships the same way that you would show straight relationships, just scrap it. Bad representation is often worse for marginalized communities than no representation at all.
That's not a gay word.
That was a quick and dirty lesson on how to identify and write good queer characters. I'm Harry Smith, thanks for watching.
Thank you, Harry. The visibility of the LGBTQ+ community is growing on television and other media platforms. Especially in the Netflix show Sex Education, the producers are intentional with showing characters as complex human beings and giving a bigger role to the queer characters within the show. Netflix has taken the world by storm with streaming entertaining and relevant content, which keeps consumers wanting more. Other streaming services have caught on to this trend as well, especially with the new addition of Disney Plus to the streaming services.
The last 70 years have seen great advances in the way we consume media. With television, you either watched it live or hoped to catch it in a rerun. Starting in the 80s, video stores allowed audiences to rent movies. Then companies would send them straight to their homes.
If you're busy like me, going to the video store is a hassle. With Netflix, just make a list of the movies you want to see. And in about 1 business day, you'll get 3 delivered to your house. Keep them as long as you want, without late fees.
Now we're in the age of streaming.
Roku is the simplest way to stream entertainment to your TV, the way you want.
There's a box, there's a remote, and instantly you have access to over 1,000 channels.
With so many options, which do people choose?
Netflix, just as my number 1.
Hulu on the Xbox or via like NFL streams or NBA streams on Reddit.
Foot Locker, 123 Movies.
Use Amazon like Prime Video on my computer.
Streaming gives consumers vast freedom to select and choose what they want to watch, or so it seems. Media is a business and fits in perfectly with our capitalistic society. In the 80s, 90% of media was owned by 50 companies. By 2011, that number dropped to 6. Today, it's dispersed between 5, with the recent acquisition of Fox by Disney.
Primary concern of someone who studies this is diversity of voices, diversity of content, because even though it seems like a lot now, the path of history shows us eventually there is dramatic consolidation.
The big powerhouse to watch today is Disney, owner of Marvel, Star Wars, 21st Century Fox, National Geographic, and coming soon, its own streaming service. This will effectively remove their content from various other platforms. How will this affect the consumer?
It also just kind of sucks because then for people who do want to just watch the occasional one, you don't really want to have to pay for that.
Minimizes my options as a consumer, where if Disney jacks up the prices because they have all these super cool shows that everyone wants to watch, it's frustrating as a consumer because that lessens the appeal of other competing brands.
Do you think that it is kind of intimidating to know that a corporation can have this much power in today's economy?
I think the more stuff they acquire and the bigger foothold they get in that market, the worse everyone is going to be in the long run.
To actually understand the dynamics of the money changing hands and who actually has the right to demand so much for this content, that's trickier.
Pretty much every time I see something that I think is kind of problematic, I can kind of like link it to them. Just their whole acquisition method goes beyond media.
As a consumer of that, I think that people are still gonna buy into it just because of it is the way that the media and the way our pop culture is trending.
But where are we headed? What should we know as active consumers?
There are people that make content, there are people that distribute content, and we tend to conflate all of the above. So you have to see who has the distribution rights, because those are the people with tremendous power.
However, the distinction between creation and distribution is blurring. With services such as Netflix, Amazon Studios, and Disney Plus producing and distributing its own content, the public may be more confused than ever as to how to follow the money.
As things come in-house, that shifts those dynamics quite a bit, because then exclusivity becomes the dominant theme. And if exclusivity is the theme, it will make consumers have to have 4 or 5 different things.
As it is, a great number of people subscribe to multiple streaming services. In the end, is the cost worth what we receive?
I think that it really is worth it when you have like a group of friends that you can do a plan with, like a family plan, because I'll do it with some friends and we all put in a few dollars each month.
I do feel like it's worth it for the initial couple years that you're within it.
Probably not, because I think I do it pretty like sporadically, where I'll like watch a ton of shows like all kind of at once, and then I won't watch anything for like a month.
Convenience is the main thing we pay for. People think it's about shows, but I think a lot of it is, the easier it is to get to it, the more likely we are to keep paying for it. Once they make it difficult, then we shy away.
Streaming services have become the norm in today's society and is continuously growing and improving. We have discussed a variety of topics regarding media literacy, but we'll now take a look at social media and how it has become a platform for users to get personal. We see a lot of bravery and personal posts on social media from the LGBTQ+ community with their coming out stories. To help me through this conversation, I am joined with GUTV's very own Ashley Cito and Sarah Short. Hello, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having us.
So what we wanted to talk about today is how personal people can get on social media, especially in the LGBTQ+ community. And my first question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on how personal you can get?
Yeah, so I actually used social media to come out in spring of 2018. I used Facebook and Instagram. And I found there was 2 really great benefits of using this platform for that reason. First, it's just very efficient. So I could disseminate this information quickly and basically receive instant gratification through likes and comments, basically letting me know that people were cool with me being gay. And it also took out the middleman, so as gay people know, you have to keep coming out over and over at work or with new friends. So having that information online allowed, when people followed me, they knew I was gay. The other benefit is visibility. So I had a lot of younger followers, and they were able to see that I had come out and that it was okay. And it was kind of like an affirmation for them, you could say.
Awesome. What about you, Ashley? What are your thoughts on the...
Yeah, I had a friend in high school who actually came out, and he was really involved with athletics, so he was a little nervous about that, and he posted on Facebook, and it was so welcomed that Nike even sponsored him and sent him to lead their Pride Parade for high school boys who come out, and I thought that was really powerful. So I don't think there's really a right or wrong way to do it. It's really up to an individual, which is great that we have that tool to do that.
Exactly. Thank you so much for all of that. And thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable with your story.
Of course.
That is all the time we have here at GUTV. We hope we left you with a better insight on how to intake media and with a better understanding of how powerful of an impact media has on society. Thanks for tuning in to Media It's Lit. I'm Ryan Meza. Go shine bright.